Well, hello there. This is Virtual Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Have you ever had the experience where you found a tactical idea in a game of chess that was so beautiful that it simply deserved to be played, whether or not it was good? Well, this happened to me in this game. Have a look at move 10. Now, this game was a tournament match within Team Australia, playing against some other club mates. So I've got the black pieces, and Cheesemakers played white and started with the Vienna. So e4, e5, knight c3, Vienna. So I love the Vienna, and what I usually will do is to play the Falkbeer, hoping to encourage my opponent to play the Vienna Gambit and then enter the main line. I've recently just had a video about playing the main line and the Leonardis Variation, which is kind of like an anti-Vienna Gambit. However, white played a very interesting move, d3. And I don't think I've ever actually faced against this before in the Vienna. And the idea here is, to form this powerful center. And when I sort of had a look at this afterwards, if white played a d3 first and then the knight, this would be the Leonardis Variation. It's a little bit suboptimal, but certainly not particularly bad either. It's just an uncommon, slightly suboptimal opening for white. So here, as an opening idea, opening principle, whenever you're given the opportunity to play, put two pawns in the center, and here I am because captures with an attack, and if they take me, then the queen takes. Okay, so if you're given the opportunity to put two pawns in the center, it's usually good to do so. And that was the best move here, but I thought I wanted to develop the bishop first. One of the things that I've started to do, well, I've done for a little while now, is that I want to play my games in the romantic style. So aggressive, early attacks, sacrificial play, playing creatively, playing potentially with sort of evocative, emotional type moves. And so I wanted to create an immediate attack if possible. Now, white plays a very interesting sort of setup here. You can see this pyramid of pawns. So once again, I'm still given the opportunity, given the opportunity to take the center. So that's what I'm going to do this time. So d5. All right, and queen, again, this very, very interesting setup. I don't know if it's got a particular name. I'm not too sure if it's actually any good, but anyway, that's cool. I develop my other knight. Bishop now comes out with an ostensible pin, okay? And here, what I decided was that I was going to give the bishop a kick. So again, what I want to do is to play aggressively, try to get into unusual, weird, positions, and then try to play those positions just because it's fun. So the romantic style. So h6, you can see knight immediately with an attack on queen here is best. I wanted them to trade potentially the bishop for my knight, and here with that kick, they do. However, can't take with the queen because otherwise knight captures and they win some tempo. So take with the g-pawn. So yes, ostensibly damage the kingside structure, but I'm playing romantically. This is a tournament game. I was absolutely sure that we're completely out of theory or expectation from my opponent with the white pieces. All right, they take anyway. And here I now jump the knight forward with the attack on the queen. Almost at move 10. Here they do this, and of course my goal is now c6 with an attack on the knight, and here white makes a blunder. Queen c3. This is a blunder because they've actually hung their knight. So here it looks like they've got an attack on my bishop, so if I take, they take back. However, the move I've got here is knight back to e6, defends the bishop, and once the knight goes here, this knight pretty much has nowhere to go. So everywhere it potentially goes to doesn't really work for them. So obviously here it's taken, here it's taken, there it's taken. You might ask about what about b4? Well, the problem with b4 is I've got a5. And here, once again, the knight is trapped. It basically has nowhere to go. So the best move here for white, in fact, is to sacrifice their knight, to trade their knight for a pawn. However, in this position, I saw something different. So notice that I saw that their queen and king were on the same diagonal. And so I thought if I could get my bishop there, then that would be a pin. Very lovely win. However, at the moment, it doesn't work. Firstly, because it's not defended. But then I saw if the queen captures, then I've got this fantastic royal fork. But not only is that square not defended by me, it's at the moment defended by white's knight. Then I saw it. I can start the sequence by sacrificing the queen. And that's what I did. When I calculated, I wasn't sure that this was good. In fact, I thought it probably wasn't good. However, the whole sequence was just so beautiful. It's such a romantic power play. I had to play it. Queen captures the knight. And here, of course, that now defends the bishop, so they can't take. Very logical thing is they're going to capture the queen. Pawn captures queen. And now another sacrifice. Bishop to b4, pinning the queen to the king. It's a sacrificial attack. Queen captures. They didn't actually have to capture, actually. You know, they could have actually moved their king. You know, this is a tip for those where your piece is lost anyway. You don't have to lose tempo moving it. Knight now captures c2, royal fork. In fact, it's actually a family fork. King forced to move. They lose the right to castle. The knight captures queen. And now, to cap it all off, there's even a trade of pawns. Captures, knight back. Absolutely fantastic. I was so pleased to play the sequence. And here, I'm actually doing fine. So we've got material equality. Yes, I've got this damaged pawn structure. With sort of 3 pawn islands, as you can see. But so does white. You know, they've got 1, 2, 3, and an isolated D pawn as well. King has lost the right to castle. It's a bit exposed. I could always potentially, castle my king potentially to either direction. So I thought I was actually doing fine. I'm going to go through the rest of the game reasonably quickly, but it actually was a really, really interesting game. Like, cheesemakers played really quite well for the rest of the game. So they decide now to push a g4, and that's a mistake, but it's a very sort of tricky position, I think, for white to navigate. Here, I've got the simple h5 because, if they take, it just helps me develop. Now they bring the bishop. I jump my knight forward with an attack. Bishop moves again. And here I'm thinking I want to give myself the opportunity to castle in either direction. They take the c file, but I block now with the bishop. And also notice that I've pinned that pawn because that pawn is now pinned to the king. This is a blunder because it doesn't address I can take. So it looks like it's defended 2 ways, but after taking, both pawns are actually pinned to the rook. So that's a really, really interesting, when you're playing the middle game, finding tactical ideas like pins and skewers are really, really important when you otherwise have material equality. It's what gives you additional mobility, and it's what allows you to win when the material is otherwise the same. All right. King moves here kind of makes sense, keeping defense. And one of the themes from this point onwards is that white really uses the king as an active piece. The king is often the most active piece for them, and that's not generally good. That was a mistake. Here, I actually have a killer move, but I don't see it. Now, can you see what the killer move is? Did you find it? It is knight to f5 with check. And you might think, well, can't the king just take with an attack? Well, if they take, it's a blunder, and they blunder. Let's have a look. Mate in 2. Because now we've got rook h4 check. That's defended by the knight. And the king is basically has only one legal move, which is to capture the knight. But after they capture the knight, rook now to f4, and somehow there is a mate with rook and 3 pawns in the middle of the board. I didn't see it in the game. You know, I wonder if you saw it. Pretty difficult to see. So I'm not feeling too bad. So in this game, what I played was captures. It's still fine, but obviously not as good as that very, very lovely potential mate. They take here, and here, the knight is now pinned to the rook. These pins are so powerful. Here I give a check. Basically, some of these checks are a bit speculative because what I'm actually trying to do is to see whether I can induce a mistake. So here, jump back with check. You know, have an attack on the pawn. Here they've got attack on the on my knight. Again, here making use once again of these pins with check. And here, back with an attack. Now, with this attack, I thought I didn't have any move better than just a capture. I saw that before. I wasn't sure I wanted to trade, but here I thought, let's do it. So captures, and excellent. Rook is now off the c file, so I'm very, very happy to long castle. King is safe. Their king is very, very exposed, fully open g file. So I was actually quite happy. In fact, in this position, I was happy to start trading down pieces, move into an endgame. Captures, rook, d, g8 with check, king, and now I decide to trade off. Stockfish reckons that's better. Doesn't make a big difference because after captures with check, that's like a force field, king force, and you can see the king is trying to defend that pawn, but it's really difficult. You know, rook and king type endgames. I've got some pawns as well, and their king is a bit isolated. The king is exposed. Check. And here with check, but that's fine. King opposition, force back, check, and here I now have the two rooks still with the pin, and now I can definitely capture another pawn. You can see Stockfish reckons rook here. That basically gives an attack here, and then you can drop the rook down again to the 5th rank, achieving the same tactic. This is a little bit more forcing. All right, so king here, and now captures. Brilliant. Undoubled my pawns, which means now that the E pawn and the F pawn are connected pass pawns. Super winning. So basically all I have to do is to not blunder. Now you can see the king still the most active piece. Very, very dangerous for them. I decide to defend that pawn. Here they try to do that, but that's fine. Move my king out of potential discovered check. King defending these pieces. They can't take. And now push, and the idea I was going to do was just to push these pawns forward. Their rook is pushed back, check. King here, now that is potentially a problem for me. However, I just have the speed now. Here, their king is now somewhat trapped on the opposite side of the board to all their pieces. And I thought I could potentially create a mating net with these pawns, with these rooks. There we go. The king here, check. Here, check, X-ray defense. Here, check. Here, check. And now the king has to escape this way. But unfortunately, they played here. Again, I think they were using the heuristic of king opposition. However, king opposition doesn't quite work when the opponent has other pieces to move, because they can move one of their other pieces, king stay in the same place, and then your opponent takes advantage of the king opposition. The king is a force field. And in this position, do you see the mate? That's right, rook c5, mating net. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is to look for sacrifices and don't be afraid to use one. What's the worst that can happen? You lose a game of chess. However, they bring joy and delight. whether or not they're good or bad. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.